Hey everybody, Tony Winston here, Jazz Piano College. I'm going to cover a couple of songs today, Summertime and My Favorite Things by request. And I'm playing along today with the Jamie Aebersold recording, and we've got Hal Galper on piano, Steve Gilmore on bass, Bill Goodwin on drums, and they're really good. So let's do Summertime first. And, I'm just going to play right hand and just listen to those chords that Hal Galper's playing. He's awesome, and I'm going to talk a little bit about rhythm, too, in a minute. So let me get it going. All right, here we go.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So, the original version of Summertime is like these two chords, like this, not just D minor. And I think that's a cool idea, but I noticed Hal Galper was doing this. All right? Now let me talk a little bit about rhythm. So, I hear a lot about, playing behind the beat and playing ahead of the beat. But let me give you this little word of advice as a piano player if you're comping along with a soloist. Don't play ahead of the beat. Don't play behind the beat. Try to be right on the beat and practice with the metronome so you can do this. Now, imagine that, the drummer's playing on top of the beat and the bass player is like playing on top of the beat. And, you want to stay real tight with them, so you play on top of the beat too. Pretty soon it's going faster and faster and faster. And the same thing happens with a laid-back feeling. And I get this all the time when I practice with this big band. My feeling is you will never go wrong by just being rhythmically accurate. Where should we play those chords? Should we play them long? Should we play them short? You can do a short, long thing like this, and you can play everything on offbeats. Summertime. In fact, let me turn on the track again, and I'll cut out the piano player. His playing is certainly very sparse, just a few little things in here. The bass player is keeping the harmony moving along, the drummer's keeping the rhythm moving along, and the soloist is doing his thing. There's not, you don't have to fill in every hole. You can leave a lot of space.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so a few of the things I was doing, I played a lot of that "So What" chord, that's for sure. I did it on G minor, E minor 7 flat 5. I usually would play that and then put some kind of a 9 and an 11 in there, and then just move that up like a minor third. You get a nice chord for A altered there, that A7 plus 9, which really means a sharp 9. It doesn't mean like add the 9 to the chord like that. It's a flat 9 or a sharp 9. The plus 9, I guess, means a sharp 9. And then you can, put a flat 13 in there. But, you don't even have to know all that kind of stuff. If you just keep the basic chords going, E minor 7, spread it out a little bit like this, A7, that's a good voicing there, D minor. Of course, on D minor, you could play really anything on the white keys, sounds pretty good. Every once in a while, put something in or a little melodic line. The main thing is you want to listen to the soloist and try to anticipate what they might do and play something that's supportive. And don't worry about filling in the little holes and everything. That's kind of a style, you wait for the saxophone to take a breath and then you stick a chord in there. But, the music can sound kind of cluttered after a while if you do that. So don't overthink it, play what feels right, what sounds right. And don't try to, play on top of the beat or behind the beat. Just practice with the metronome or practice along with these guys. Because there's some bad motherfuckers there, man. Let me tell you, they really play great. Hal Galper is, one of the best jazz pianists that come along. So, and he's a good educator too. In fact, this stuff I'm telling you about, like the feeling the swing and everything. I saw a video of him one time, and he says, "Can you swing?" He asked the student. The student said yes. He says, "Well, quit trying to swing. Just play what you feel." Just accept the fact, yeah, you could swing. All you have to do is listen a little bit, play along with some good records that you like, with that kind of a feel, and you'll be swinging. It's not too hard. Don't make a big deal out of it. All right, now what I should do for my favorite things
B flat.
is get out my... Now, one advantage to being old is you just accumulate a lot of shit. And I've got so many music books. They call this the vocal score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, the real book's got G major, but here we've got like a B minor, kind of acting as a substitute, and then E minor. I don't think that's what they do in the real book. Let's compare these two charts. I think that might be fun. D, and then B minor. And here, it's a C major, but it's got the E in the bass. And then the G has got a 5 in the bass. Going to C, that's good. And F, we're on the same page now with that. That's good. F sharp minor 7 flat 5. And that does repeat. So let's just go through it and find the next part. Now it goes into, and one thing that looks a little different about the chart is it's got a couple of bars of E major before the melody comes in. So you could add those to the chart there. Girls in white dresses and blue satin sashes. A major, yes, and let's lay on my nose and eyelashes. Silver white winters that melt. Once again, that B minor, melt into spring. I love that. These are a few of my favorite things. Sharp 9 would work, like F over B is kind of cool. And then when the dog bites with the G in the bass. And, I guess when you're when you're, jamming on this tune. It'd be good for the bass player to be a little aware of this, that they could substitute that G in there instead of playing E on the very first beat. Don't know where it goes from there. Let me turn the page. Yeah, it just stays on the chord. And then E minor to C. And this is nice here, kind of, goes back and forth between the tonic and the supertonic. And what do they got in the chart there? They got A7, and the original's got C sharp down there, but still the same chord. And then put the 5 in here. And this is like a pedal tone, so you could go. Anything works over a pedal tone, so you could try all kinds of stuff. And does it go to the the book actually has that chord in there, and then so bad. Then it goes to F minor. Mother Abbess taps with her pencil on the table. Roses and so changes key, goes up a half step. That's a good idea. I think harmonically this song is a little bit boring if you are playing in a jazz style and you got to take 48 choruses on the same song. Why not modulate someplace along the way here? All right, let's talk a little bit about improv. I'm just going to go back to Jamie Aebersold here. We got E minor. I think Phrygian mode would be kind of cool here. That's the F. If you put the E in there, the F sharp, then it becomes a Dorian mode. No, it becomes natural minor, Aeolian mode. And I think that sounds good too. How about Dorian mode? I don't know, the presence of the C sharp, because then you're going to C. I think I would avoid the Dorian mode, I guess, on this, at least somewhat. All right, then we get to A minor. It's still the same kind of thing. I think, just using G major scale works pretty good on all those chords. Until you get to that B7. There's B7 with an alteration, and that's the flat 9. And did I mention the blues scale? Same one works there. Now there I went to more of a G blues scale. And then back to G. All right, and really using the diminished scale would get you nicely into that major chord. And then just stay in the E major scale here. That will give you on A like the Lydian sound there. And typically, when you're in a particular key, like say E, you can play the major scale, but any other major 7th chord, like if you went up to G major 7, you put the Lydian in, unless you're back on B. And even in B, you can put it in there. E. You can put a Lydian in there too, but especially on other chords, like the 4 chord. And then we're back into the same old stuff here of A minor, D7, and G major 7. This is just a 2-5-1. If you haven't spent hours and hours and hours and days and weeks and months working on 2-5-1s, you can just go like this and then come up with good lines. Learning how to do this. And then later on you get into like some chords maybe. Right, and then you start using like the altered dominant on the D7. Like that, see? That's diminished and altered because I just used a little piece of it where it's similar, but altered is like this, and diminished is like this. All right, and it's because a D dominant 7th has this diminished chord built into it. Is the one reason why it works so well. And what else do we have? F sharp minor, 7 flat 5. And whenever I see this chord, I'm always tempted to use that Art Tatum riff. It's something like that. It's not exactly like that. But think about A minor 6th being the same chord, and then just play the A minor scale with these 2 black keys. They call that minor melodic ascending, but you don't need to know the names. It just helps you talk about it and make videos. And then the altered scale on B is really an easy one. It's just C melodic. So it's got that 1 black key. All right, that's really about all there is to it, except it is a waltz. So that's a typical waltz pattern, jazz waltz, that is. Drummers tend to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 on the hi-hat, but that's a pretty old-fashioned way of doing it, so I always try to keep them from doing that too much. Just give me steady quarter notes on the ride cymbal or something like that, and we'll take care of the rest. And 3/4 rhythm is a good rhythm to get lost in as well. We just don't have as many songs in this time signature, but there's all kinds of cool ways to subdivide it. You can go 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 3 4, and even when you're soloing, you can think like that too. You can go 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6. Dividing the measures instead of 3 beats on this chord and 3 beats on that chord. You can do 2 beats on this one and 4 beats on the next one. Bill Evans does that in the song Waltz for Debbie a lot. See, it's from 1959. Richard Rodgers, one of the greatest musical writers. He just writes great songs with beautiful melodies. It's a great song, and if you want to blow your mind out, listen to that John Coltrane album where he basically goes nuts on this song for about 20 minutes. There's some cool stuff in there. Okay, folks, appreciate all the support, especially over there on Patreon. Patreon viewers are getting a free month this month because I was so busy doing things that I didn't put up that much for them. So nobody's getting charged. So hang in there, folks, and next month I hope will be better.